Hey there everyone, Art Burns here, wishing you well today. I'm braving the Colorado heat and the unfortunate smog from the wildfires in the mountains here in Denver. Although I do want to reach out to all our brothers and sisters in Northern California who are dealing with far, far worse than what I'm dealing with here. And so I want you all to know, if you're out there, I want you to know that I'm thinking of you and I wish you well. And I hope that you're all safe and sound, and reminding you that this is something that is, while it's terrible and it's horrible what we're going through, it is impermanent, just like anything else, right? And it's important to recognize that that the impermanence of what we experience, whatever it is we experience, that the impermanence is what allows us to accept it, right? And so while you're going through this, you can maybe try to focus on the things that are positive in your life right now. Even though it might be hard to see that, there's we all are still struggling through the pandemic, where a lot of us are experiencing very hard financial times. A lot of us are experiencing a lot of uncertainty around our families, around our health, around all kinds of things, and then of course wildfires, and there's hurricanes now bearing down on the Gulf Coast, and things seem bad, and at times things seem so bad that we can't even maybe even take it anymore. But remember, in those times, that there are still things that are good, right? We're still breathing, our hearts are still beating, we're alive, we're able to do things that can make the world a little bit better, and also that we've been through these kind of things before, right? And we've survived them, and we'll survive this as well, right? As hard as it is, focusing on these things, focusing on what is happening, and particularly the things that are not necessarily the negative things, will help us to keep our hearts a little bit more balanced and keep ourselves a little bit more, in a place where we can effectively get through things, right? As opposed to when we panic, or when we start to feel resentment or anger or what have you over these situations that we're in, then that gets into our heart, and then we can't be in a place where we can even do anything for it, right? We give up our ability to be effective and to kind of have compassion for ourselves and have compassion for others, which even in the most difficult times, that still is the answer, right? Compassion, acceptance, and presence, right? These are the things that are going to help us to get through what we're going through. And so a lot of times what we do is we can use, maybe the bad times that we're going through as an object of our practice, right? And that's actually what I wanted to talk about today. This is especially appropriate that this just happened to me yesterday, the day before yesterday, because tomorrow I'm actually launching a new webinar for parents, and teaching parents how to be mindful and how to connect with their children in mindfulness, and the benefits that this is. Lots of research and lots of medical and pediatric professionals have talked about the importance of connection between parents and children, attachment and attunement, and mindfulness allows us to facilitate those things. And so I'm really excited about that. That starts tomorrow night. It's every Wednesday. If you ever want to tune in, it's just a one-time thing, but it happens every Wednesday, meaning it's not a series, it's just a one-off thing. But I do it every Wednesday, and it's geared to give you a lot of information. And I'm also simultaneously launching a group program for parents, right? So it's going to be meeting in a group and kind of, getting together each week and going through a 12-step process where we get to, really understand some of these concepts, and we practice and we help each other grow through it. So if you're interested in that too, hit me up with a comment or send me a message. I would love to tell you more about that. But anyway, it's really appropriate how something happened to me just the other day, right, with my son 2 days ago. And this is really appropriate for parenting, because again, what we want to do when we get to practice mindfulness, and we get into the concepts of mindfulness, and we start practicing them every day, what we do is we broaden our awareness, and we start seeing the examples of times in which we're maybe not being mindful, right? And in this particular, or whatever it is, right? Like I said before, like when things are going really badly, we have a tendency to focus on how bad things are, right? And when we do that, our brains go into this kind of cycle of thinking about how bad they can still get, and what's the worst possible thing that could happen. That's the way our brain is always going to go, to the worst possible outcome, right? That's just the natural survival survival instinct of our brains. There's no way of getting around that, right? Except to neutralize it with presence, right? If we just let our minds just do its thing, it's always going to go to that place. But we have the choice to recognize it, right? And when we build this awareness, right, through non-judging awareness practices, right, then we can see when we're getting caught up in this negative kind of, cycle of thoughts, right? Or we can also see when we're getting caught up in automatic behavior, which is not benefiting us or those around us. And this is particularly what I want to talk about. So the other day, my son is, bless his heart, he got a little Nintendo Switch the other day. And I remember, I mean, for me, it was like even pre-Game Boy, right? Like my thing was that little digital football game, right? That just had the little red dashes on it that you would push the button really quick and tick, 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 the little dashes would move across the screen, and you tried not to bump into the other dashes, and you got a touchdown and that kind of stuff. A far cry from what my son has now. I mean, this Nintendo Switch, I mean, he's doing everything with this thing. It's basically like an iPhone, for games and media and stuff. It's really amazing, And so he got this on his birthday a couple of months ago, and so there's no surprise and no, of course it's completely understandable that he is really into this thing. He wants it to be in his hands all the time, So the other day, we're about to head out, and I asked him, I said, hey, dude, can you go brush your teeth, please, right? And of course, he not only does he have the Switch going in these days of COVID, I'm just really trying to be accepting of the fact that, extra screen time is going to happen, and there's just so much that I can do to change that, so I'm trying to accept it, right? And so he has the TV going, watching some, YouTuber that he loves, and then he's also playing a game on his Switch. And okay, it's not the best thing for him, and I tell him that gently, like, to separate his attention like that is not good for his brain. I give him the guidance, but I also allow him to make his own decisions to a certain extent, right? And so when I asked him the other day, I said, hey, could you go brush your teeth, please? He's so wrapped up in all of his media, right? So what he did was he went upstairs, right, where his toothbrush is and his toothpaste is, and he was carrying his Switch, right? And then he decided that he was going to, I guess he wanted to still experience the YouTuber at the same time. So he decided that he was going to go upstairs, grab his toothbrush and toothpaste, and bring it back downstairs with him, and then brush his teeth in the bathroom downstairs where you could still hear the YouTube video. Like, I totally get it. Right? But what happened, though, of course, is that as he's walking downstairs, he's got his toothbrush and his toothpaste in his hand. He's also got his Switch. He's not, it's not like he tucks it under his arm and goes up the stairs. No, he's trying to play a game while he's walking down the stairs. And, of course, he tripped, right? And he fell down. He didn't hurt himself, thankfully, but his Switch went flying and it crashed on the ground. Now, thankfully, it didn't break, and everything was okay, but he was devastated. He was crying, he was sobbing, and he wanted so bad that his Switch wasn't broken. That's what he was worried about. I kept saying, you hurt? Are you hurt? Did you, I'm checking his ankles and his knees, and I'm like, are you okay? And he's just crying. He's like, I don't want my Switch to be broken. So once I realized that he was no longer in physical danger, right, my mind went to this place, right, and quite frankly, it was the way my parents used to talk to me, right, like in that moment, even while he was sobbing because of what had gone on, I started to say to him things like, dude, what did you think was going to happen? If you're walking downstairs looking at this thing, what did you think was going to happen? Did you not think about it? And I caught myself, right? And again, now normally, right, what would happen, even a couple of years ago, right, what would have happened to me is I would have just kept going and going and like make my point, like drive that point home, right? Like you screwed up. You shouldn't have been doing what you did. And this is the lesson you're going to learn, right? But I stopped myself because I realized, in my non-judging awareness, I caught myself and I realized that I was speaking from a place of automatic, kind of behavior, right? Again, mimicking what those, my parents used to do to me, right? Excuse me, I'm sure you hear that motorcycle. mimicking what my parents used to do to me, right? And of course, it didn't make me happy to do that, but more importantly, what it didn't do, it didn't teach me any lesson, right? Because at that point, he is crying, he is emotionally triggered, he has flipped his lid, as Dr. Dan Siegel would say, right? Where his emotional brain that's in the lower part of the brain, the thumb here is the emotions, this is the thinking part. So he's flipped his lid, right? There's no cognitive control or regulation happening right now because he's so upset, right? And so what I realized was I stopped myself and I said, Art, first of all, I practiced a little self-compassion, right? I told myself, I was like, okay, you've been triggered because you were worried about your son and you were worried about his very expensive piece of electronics, and so recognizing that this is a difficult moment that you're going through, right? And recognizing that you just caught yourself also doing something that you don't approve of. Like, you would not approve of somebody else doing this. Like, you would point this out to somebody else, that you really should speak with compassion to your son, not with this angry, kind of chastising tone, right? And in that moment, I was able to offer myself a little compassion, and then I was able to offer myself kindness with the compassion is the noticing and the connecting to say that, dads have this hard time, especially now we're all going through hard times, but then offering myself the kindness and saying, it's okay, right? It's okay. Don't feel like you have to solve every problem right now. It's okay, right? And so at that point, I took a deep breath and I just held him, right? And I just let him calm down. I let him connect to me and know that even in this really, really difficult moment, right, I was there for him, right? I was there to comfort him. I wasn't there to be a bully. I wasn't there to be a teacher. I wasn't there to be a punisher, right? I was there just to comfort him, right? And again, once I realized that everything was okay, and then he started calming down, and I held him, and I used words. I used, instead of, I shifted from that what did you think was going to happen, that kind of tone and those choices of words. I switched and I shifted to saying things like, dude, I know you didn't mean it, and it's okay, nothing happened, and it's okay, we're all gonna be okay, and we can learn from this in a gentle way, and it's okay, and I love you, and everything's gonna be all right, and so what this did, right, and this is for all you parents out there, this is the kind of thing we're gonna be talking about in this course, right, but it applies to everyone, right? This could be, you might obviously change your tone of voice if you're talking to somebody at work, but the same principle applies, right? Because by offering him my kindness and my support, right, what happened is then, I think it was the next day, if not later that day, right, again, he had to go upstairs for something, and he started taking his Switch with him. And I said, hey, dude, do you think it's a good idea to, and I didn't even get it out of my mouth, and he said, oh yeah, I gotta leave this here. And then he went upstairs and did his thing, right? So when we're calm with ourselves and calm with others, we then have a chance for all of us to learn from the experiences that we're having, right? Like Jon Kabat-Zinn tells us, the life is the curriculum, right? These little things that happen during our lives, these are ways that we can learn to, we can allow them to teach us how to practice mindfulness and how to apply the practice and the learning that we're doing, how to apply it to real life situations, right? And so anyway, I just wanted to offer this story to you to kind of let you know how, how different things can be when we just are mindful of the words we're using and the compassion that we're offering or not offering, and most especially when we realize when we're acting out of some kind of automatic or implicit kind of place, that is, quite frankly, built on something that we call generational trauma, right? So it's already getting kind of long, this video, so I don't want to go too far into what that is, but basically what we do is we repeat patterns, right? And these patterns continue to repeat themselves until we bring awareness to them, and in bringing awareness to them, we are able to then disrupt them, right? And that's the key, right? Because then we take it from something that's trauma, which is breaking, which is damage, and we replace it with compassion, which is bringing together, which is healing, which is making whole, right? So I hope you enjoy this. I hope you get some value out of what I'm talking about here. And if you have any questions about this, or you want to talk about it, you want to even just chat about, how this might apply to something that happened in your life, I would be loving to hear those stories, and I would love to have those conversations with you. And by all means, if you want to know anything about this this wonderful parenting course that I'm about to launch, the way that I do this, it happens in what we call an evergreen way. So you can join anytime. You don't have to join next week and keep on pace with the people. I'm going to have people rolling in all the time, and I'll explain how that works. Basically, what I do is I give you a video module each week that you're going to learn from, and then when you meet with us, we're going to kind of compare each other's learning, and it really works well. I've done it before, and I would love to tell you how it works, and I would love to show you how it works, and I would love for you to experience how it works. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Wish you well, and I hope I get to see you in my parenting course. It's going to be a lot of fun. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.